You know, if we want to get a handle on the future of money, things like digital currencies, we actually have to go backwards. We have to unravel this incredible mystery of its past. So today, we're going to dive into thousands of years of human history to really understand one of our most powerful inventions. And this whole explainer is based on the amazing work of financial historian and author ARA KARYAN. So let's get into it. It's a question that sounds so simple, right? But the answer has changed like crazy throughout history. It's definitely not just about the coins and paper in your wallet. The real definition is, well, it's a lot deeper and honestly a lot stranger than you probably think.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start in a world with no cash at all, then check out some of the most bizarre forms of currency you can imagine. We'll see how modern money was born, figure out what money actually does, and finally, look at its role as a major tool of power.
Okay, let's jump in. Try to picture a time way before wallets, banks, any of that. How did people trade? I mean, how did they keep track of who owed what to whom? Well, the answer was a really clever social invention. You see, in these tiny prehistoric groups where everybody knew everybody, simple trades worked just fine. But as societies got bigger, we're talking villages, then cities, bartering, trading your chickens for my wheat, just became a total mess. It was inefficient, super impractical. They needed a whole new system. So the first version of money, it wasn't a physical thing you could hold at all. Nope, it was an idea. It was a shared public record, sort of a mutual accounting ledger that kept track of all the economic relationships and everything going on inside the community. It was basically a system of memory. And get this, archaeologists have found that sometimes this shared ledger was literally carved onto giant stones that nobody could move. I mean, think about that. It's a public, permanent, and unchangeable record of every transaction. Kind of like a prehistoric blockchain, if you think about it. Okay, so let's see how we get from this abstract idea to actual physical objects. As societies got even bigger, humanity started to experiment with physical forms of money. And let me tell you, some of their choices were pretty wild. People got super creative. In some cultures, things like uniquely shaped or colored stones were actually used as currency. Just the fact that they were rare and looked different made them valuable enough to use for exchange. And the list just keeps going. Livestock, like cattle, were a really common form of wealth. And in some places, even bricks of salt were valuable enough to be used as money. That's actually where we get the phrase, worth is salt. True story. But maybe one of the most successful and widespread forms of early currency ever was the cowrie shell. These little shells were small, they were durable, easy to count, and they were used as money all across Africa, Asia, and the Pacific Islands. Now, just think about that for a second. 3,000 years. That's how long these shells were a trusted form of money. That's way longer than any national currency has ever existed. They were still being used in some places in the early 20th century. That's just an incredible track record. All right, let's jump way forward in time. From shells and salt, money kept evolving. The next huge steps involved metal coins, then paper banknotes, and then a massive shift that happened within a lot of our lifetimes. This timeline kind of lays it all out. We went from commodity money, things with their own value, to representative money. The first paper banknotes, they popped up in China over 1,000 years ago. But the biggest change for us, the system we live in now, happened in August 1971. And this right here, this illustrates that exact moment. Before 1971, the US dollar's value was tied to physical gold. After 71, the entire world shifted to what's called a fiat system. Fiat money has value simply because a government says it does, and because we all trust that government. Its value comes from belief, not a physical thing. So we've seen money as a ledger, a shell, a piece of metal, and now a piece of paper that's only backed by trust. But no matter what it looks like, what job does money have to do to actually work? What are the rules? Well, it turns out any successful currency has to nail 3 specific jobs. First, it has to be a medium of exchange. That just means everyone agrees to accept it as payment. Second, it's a unit of account. It gives us a common ruler to measure the value of everything. And third, it has to be a store of value. You have to be able to save it and trust that it'll still be worth something later on. But the story doesn't end there. Not even close. Money isn't just some neutral tool for making economies run smoothly. It has a dual nature. It has also been, and still is, a really powerful instrument for organization and control.
As ARA KARYAN points out in his work, along with helping progress happen, money has also been a means of operation and, yeah, exploitation. And that's been true from ancient slave societies all the way up to the modern day. And this is the critical point right here. Money is the ultimate tool for organizing things on a massive scale. For states, for empires, for huge organizations, it's the operating system. It's what allows them to collect taxes, to fund giant armies, and to control the economic lives of millions of people. So, from stone ledgers to government-backed fiat, money has never stopped evolving. As ARA KARYAN's work shows us, it's a technology that adapts to what civilization needs. Which, of course, brings us to today. After this incredible journey through history, we have to ask the big question. Is the next logical step in this thousands of years long story a purely digital one?